as soon as I'm done.
I love that approach.
So I'm making a list. So anyways, hi everyone, welcome to the Semi-Bookish podcast.
Hi! Oh, I just realized why you told me. Never mind, carry on. Hi everybody, I'm a dunce today, it's okay.
I don't even know what I told Tony. But anyways, this is the Semi-Bookish podcast. We are all here, we are all awake and alive. I'm kind of like slowly kind of half awake right now. I don't know. So, we're just going to get started with everything else. So Tony, what are you reading, playing, doing? Okay,
so the most significant thing that people should know is last night, for the first time since it has been out, I saw Dune Part 2.
Ooh. The ooh from both of us.
I was not ready.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad, because now, having been so critical of what I thought the first book was,
mm-hmm.
I now have to go back and read again
mm-hmm.
to finally get the whole story, because now I'm like, oh wait, it did that. Okay, all right, I need. So I'm very excited to chase my Dune Part 2 euphoria with Dune the books, as Frank Herbert intended. Sometimes I need that, right? I need a film adaptation that it pays respect to its, source.
You need a film adaptation that doesn't suck, so you can be like, ooh, I really want to watch it.
Really, which of course ties into today's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be coming back to this a bit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that was a big moment for me. I just thought it was so good. It was clever without being silly. It was... But also without being over the top, if that makes sense. They could have been over the top in this movie, but they weren't.
It is very restrained, more than you'd think, like a big action-packed.
Yeah, I kept having moments where I kept thinking, yeah, if this was Star Wars, they would have done all of these things. There's a moment where, because it's a sand-choked planet, right? So,
mm-hmm.
of course, all the sand warfare is what you're seeing. And there's a moment where, I think it's the little dragonfly. Yeah, the dragonfly ships are flying towards where they think the Fremen are, and they shoot all these missiles and blow up this whole section. And so there's dust flying from the buildings, there's dust from the planet, and then the dragonfly ships have landed, and the Harkonnen troops are getting off, right? And I thought, in Star Wars, you spark up one good lightsaber in that sandstorm and it changes the whole mood. But you can't do that in Dune, right? Dune is literally not that. And it made the moment towards the, later in the film when Paul has the moment that is coming, right? It's that kind of story. It makes it more riveting because he can't just spark up a lightsaber. He has to be politically sure. And in the situation that he finds himself in, with all of the secrets that I will not reveal to you because you need to find them out yourself, there's so much more that he has on his plate than you even realize after part 1. So that was a big... Dune Part 2 might be one of my favorite science fiction pictures of all time. Without question. I cannot believe I got the pleasure of watching that. It was so much fun.
I want to go back at some point and watch
both together.
Together. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm going
marathon
to
it.
Yes,
marathon
absolutely.
it right before the third one comes out.
Ooh, good idea.
Yeah, I'm absolutely going to do that. So that was that was what I'm watching. I just started playing this past weekend. I love it. I have good updates. I just started playing Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Ooh.
On my PlayStation 4 that my brother gave me. So I'm loving that as well. Although I will say, because I expected it to be, Arkham controls, because it is. But I'm not a PlayStation player yet.
I understand how that works.
So I'm trying to figure out okay, on the Xbox controller, what would this be? And Joe says I'm overthinking it, because I probably am.
You are.
But I'm also not, because Spider-Man and Batman move differently, necessarily, right? Because of what they are. So Spider-Man has all these extra, things that he can do. And I'm wait, which 2 buttons am I pressing? So I'm learning the controller while I'm also learning Spider-Man, the character. And I'm just ah!
No, I understand. I went from PlayStation to Xbox to, PC. Final Fantasy, when you're playing it, on, a like a PlayStation controller, it feels different.
Yes.
But then you turn around and you're like, oh, well, because obviously I have Xbox and PlayStation now. But, then you turn around and you're like, oh, I'm going to play something on the Xbox, and you're playing, Cyberpunk or something. There are two, and the thing that I know the most is, the accept button on the PlayStation is a different button from the Xbox.
Exactly.
And so that's the difference, is the fact that they have a different mapping for it. Mm-hmm. And it makes it worse when you then go to try to do a controller on PC. Let's say I hook up a PlayStation controller or I hook up a Xbox controller. Those games come with already just the Xbox controller, but let's say I'm using the PlayStation controller.
Right.
It's completely and utterly different, and so you have to be I don't know which one I want to use.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's that. The other thing, so what I'm reading right now is actually not maybe going to surprise too many people, but I am interested in my own brain's ability to do this. I am reading Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison and A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. Which would seem like they're totally opposed to each other, and in some ways in terms of what both authors respect in terms novels. I have a feeling the two of them would have gotten along as artists very well because they're both fiery, they're both sure of themselves, they both know what they're doing on the page, they're both clearly masters of this craft. The problem is that Hemingway has no idea how to write women.
I mean, that's fair.
And Morrison could write anything. Little people, the kids, adults, male, female. She wrote a whole gay couple in A Mercy, which is set in 3 years before the Salem witch trials. Mm-hmm. And it's obvious that they're a gay couple. You're not really sure what their race is because she's kind of trying to obscure that. So you don't know if they're white and black or white and native or native and black. You know that they're a mixed couple. And that they are gay because they keep showing up all over the book because they're on the boat, they're fishers, and so they're always watching the plot happen from a distance, and you're like, these two men are awfully curious, but they don't actually do anything.
They must be very good friends.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And it's that kind of thing, right? And she knows that that's what you're thinking, so she's kind of leaning into it. I feel like Hemingway, if he was writing at the same time as Toni Morrison, I think he would have had to have been challenged. You know what I mean? A bit more, so that when he was writing, at least from what I can tell from A Farewell to Arms, he was unchallenged. Who was going to check him and say, "Dude, you can't write women"? I mean, Faulkner wasn't going to. Faulkner said a lot of other things, which is fair. But, I mean, no, Faulkner and Fitzgerald are not going to be like, you can't write women. They're men. What do they know? I mean,
they
whatever,
also can't
right?
write women.
Yeah, and there were no significant... I mean, there were significant women American writers, but they weren't held in the same esteem. So, Edith Wharton and Gertrude Stein are not going to, call Hemingway out. You know what I mean?
Would Judith Butler have been that same time period, or is she earlier?
Ooh, she might have been right around that. Wasn't she a critic as well?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I think she was either right around that time or a bit later. Because Hemingway did write. I mean, him and Faulkner wrote. No, actually, more Hemingway and Steinbeck wrote for this the same amount of time, and they wrote pretty late into. The 20th century. I mean, into the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they weren't dead until then. And Faulkner and Fitzgerald died sooner, but of all of them, Faulkner and Hemingway have spawned the most influence, I think, of that group. So, it's fun reading Hemingway. Honestly, I mean, I can say that honestly. I mean, he's really, really good at what he wanted to do. Mm-hmm. The only problem is that, again, he has no idea how to write women. But you get the impression that he didn't really think of women as human. So there's a reason why it's well, then no wonder you're bad at this. You literally don't think of them as worth anything. Mm-hmm. So,
It's a possibility.
Yeah. So, anyway, Erin.
Hi.
What are you enjoying in your infirm state?
My infirm state, for context, I got my wisdom teeth out literally 4 days ago.
Yeah.
And it has been a ride.
Sure.
I played a lot of Sims.
Flying high there, are we?
Not really.
I'm sorry, that was a joke for the listening audience.
I wish I was, but I'm not. I would say, so I played a lot of games.
Excellent.
So one of the games, so I got an Xbox 2 along with my PS5.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, yeah, there's things that I can play that I feel like would just be better if I played it on console as opposed to PC or
sure.
PlayStation. So I'm like, you know. So one of the things that I have at home is Xbox Game Pass, just automatic. Like, I have it.
Yeah.
Because I had it for my PC, so I can just sign in on my Xbox and I still have it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
So, I've been playing a game called Little Kitty Big City.
Oh, that sounds
It sounds like the cutest thing.
adorable.
It is about a cat. I think they live in Tokyo. And the cat falls out of the roof, like the window.
Mm-hmm.
And is now stuck like on the grounds of Tokyo in the streets, and you have to help the kitty find their way home.
Yes, I've heard about this game.
It's not like Stray, where Stray.
Oh, no, okay, I think I've heard of Stray.
So Stray is more dystopian cyberpunk style. Kitty needs to find their way home.
Sure.
This is more so cutesy, like Disney Dreamlight Valley like style.
Oh, sure.
Kitty needs to find their way home.
Oh.
The funniest part is there are random soccer balls everywhere, and there are nets, and you can bat.
Oh.
You can bat with your paw
Because you're a cat. Oh,
into the net, and there's an achievement that's part of it.
I love it.
You can jump on to railings, and there's all these little potted plants, and you can just bat them off for fun.
I love that.
You can trip people for their bread. And you can use the bread by placing it out in random parking lots, and then birds will come down, and you can pounce on the birds and collect feathers.
So this is beneath the cutesy veneer. This is a hardcore survival game.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And the
that's
thing
genius.
is, you need to get like feathers to trade with like tanukis and raccoons to be able to get things to be able to continue your way back home.
Now, is this 3D? Is it like okay?
Oh, that sounds.
And if you have
wonderful.
Xbox Game Pass, it's free because you can just download it.
Very cool.
Yes.
So I've been playing that. I've been playing a lot of Sims 3.
Yeah.
I've been playing with a fairy who lives in the world where it's called Appaloosa Plains, and it's got all the different animals and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I accidentally broke up a marriage. I didn't mean to. I didn't realize he had a technically he has a wife if you read the what is it? The little blurb for the household.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that because it said he was single, and then I read the blurb and it said that they've been trying for a kid and nothing's working.
Oh no. You've become Jane Eyre.
So I was like, you know what? That's fine. He's rich, and that's all I care about.
I guess she would be Jane Fairy, but carry on.
I was gonna. Oh, never mind.
And so then I was doing that. I restarted Skyrim too, and I've been playing a lot of Disney Dreamlight Valley at the same time.
Oh, nice.
So like I've just been like little things here and there, and then I've been watching a lot of Criminal Minds because what else are you supposed to do when you're sitting there eating mashed potatoes at 11 o'clock at night and there's nothing else to do?
Yep.
And then I'm also I don't even know what this is called. This is called Nocticadia, I guess. I don't know. It's by somebody named Carrie Lake, and it's like I'm pretty sure this is like a smutty romance.
Sure.
It's titled Dark Academia Gothic Romance. And this is because it's professor romance, I guess? I don't know. What
Genres are getting weird. That's all I'm gonna say.
It was on sale, I think, for like a couple bucks on BookBub, a few months ago, so it's just been on my thing, and so the cover looked pretty because it was a skull with purple flowers, and that's all I cared about.
Right.
And so that's what I've been reading.
Well, there you go.
Grant.
Yeah, nice.
I've seen a few movies lately. For one, I saw The Iron Claw.
Oh, the wrestling one?
Yeah, the wrestling one. So Aaron, I'm sure you already know the backstory and everything.
Oh yeah, the Von Erich family.
Yes. Okay.
I do know most of their family's super tragic. Out of 6 kids, 1 is alive today.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
They all died young. This isn't like
Very young.
This isn't like an Owen Hart tragedy where Owen Hart literally fell from 40 feet in the air during a botched entrance. This is like all of them had some type of like drug, shot, tragedy. There was
Wow.
and it was like one right after the other.
So Iron Claw kind of covers that.
Yes.
We do have it.
Story.
I haven't cataloged it yet, but we do have it.
Nice.
Just
It's
go
also
check it out.
available right now on Max.
Yes, that's where I watched
That's
it.
where you watched it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So I know that Jeremy Allen White was probably stellar because he just is.
Yes, there should have been more of him though.
Oh, that's disappointing. How is Zach? Because he's hit or miss.
Zac Efron, he's good. He's good. He's really good.
I like him when he's good.
It's not even my place to comment on it. His face is kind of distracting. He had some work done recently.
That's because he literally broke his jaw.
Oh, he did break his jaw, really?
Oh,
I wasn't aware of this.
You know, like how his face looks weird now.
Yeah.
So
different.
the story behind it is apparently like he broke his jaw or something, and so he had to get plastic surgery to fix it.
Oh, it's kind of like how Mark Hamill's face changes from episode 4 to episode 5 because he got in a severe car accident.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
Same
wow.
kind of hat.
Okay.
So that's why his face looks weird now.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, no, I mean, the performances are pretty stellar across the board. The guy who plays their dad, who's a big focus of the movie, since he kind of set the tone for the household and everybody, all the kids' lives. I cannot think of the actor's name. He's from Mindhunter. He's the detective in that. He's really good.
Okay.
He's not in a
I think
whole
I
lot,
know who you're
actually,
talking
but
about. Yeah.
he's really good. Like I said,
Calney?
maybe.
Yeah. The name isn't familiar, but I'm sure I know the face.
Yeah, I think some of the characters definitely could have had some more screen time. There is a scene late in the movie which I don't know what they were smoking, but it is very incongruous with everything else, and I was not a fan.
Okay.
I was talking to my roommate. He didn't have a problem with it.
Sure.
I'm sure its mileage may vary depending on the viewer, but
Right.
I won't spoil it. But
Okay.
it felt like it cheapened some stuff for me. But overall, it's a good movie. I'd say 3.5 stars.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, there's also, I think my really favorite part about that whole entire movie is, one, there's actual wrestlers involved in there.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
As actual, like, they actually, like, played in the movie, too.
Oh, I like
But
that.
at the same time, the actual wrestlers trained the actors in how to wrestle, including one of his brother, I think. Yeah. Chavo Guerrero, who his brother is Eddie Guerrero, who unfortunately passed away in like 2005 of like a giant heart attack.
Right.
Which
yeah.
which is a very common thing for wrestlers to die of.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because of all the steroids and all the stuff that they have to do.
Sure,
But like
of course.
he trained all of them. There was a guy named Maxwell Jacob Friedman who also trained them, who was part of a current wrestling promotion, and then there was a guy named Nick Nemeth. Is it Nick or Ryan? There's two brothers. I think it's Ryan. Yeah, it's Ryan Nemeth, whose brother is Nick Nemeth, who's also they're both big wrestlers at the moment too.
Yeah. Oh.
So like they had actual people who are doing this for a living training them on how to do this.
Yeah.
That makes sense because there's a few shots where like at first I thought, oh, they probably superimposed Zac Efron's face on this guy doing this crazy technical stunt, but then I was like, they probably trained them to do that, and it was rather impressive.
There's a lot I could wax poetic on
Yeah.
the creativity and the choreography that comes with wrestling.
Oh, it's intense.
Yeah. That's
intense.
so cool.
So yeah, good movie.
Yeah. All right. I'll bump it up higher on my list.
Yeah. Then I saw Challengers in theaters.
Yeah.
Which-
Joe and I are thinking about maybe going tonight for that one.
I'd say do it. But
Okay,
that's
excellent.
just mine.
It's $5 Tuesday, of course.
Yeah. Out of the three, how do you pronounce his name? Tony, do you know? The director, Guadagnino.
Oh yeah. Yes, Luca Guadagnino. Yeah.
Guadagnino. Okay. Out of the three movies of his I've seen, this is my least favorite, but by such a small margin. He's very consistent.
So what are the other two? Just
Bones and All and Call Me by Your Name.
Oh, so this is
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, so Bones and All, of course, is on my list because my husband is in it. Timothy Chalamet, for those of you who don't know, Paul Atreides, Muad'Dib, whatever you want to call him. Yes,
We love him.
Yes, I will.
Listen, Al-Gaib.
Yeah, exactly. I will watch anything. So one of my favorite moments was toward the end where the big moment happens, and you can tell that Javier Bardem is such an underrated actor.
Oh, yeah.
Because it looked as though he was saying in his own language to everybody, was like, I told you, but he also was literally struck by nothing but awe. So it's that combination is so hard to pull off as an actor.
No, he does a very good job of you can tell how dedicated to this faith he is.
Yeah. So I'm so excited for Bones and All because of Timothée Chalamet. I did not realize that Luca Guadagnino was the director for that, so that makes me happy.
And I'm super excited for his William S. Burroughs adaptation, which is going to be his next feature length movie.
Oh, ooh, yeah.
That's for another.
I was gonna say he is someone who should adapt William S. Burroughs. If there's anyone who should, he should be.
Yeah, and I won't talk a lot about Challengers, just because I think it's a movie you definitely should go into blind.
Sure. Okay. Good.
Basic premise is kind of a three-way love affair going on in the world of tennis.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
That's what I thought. That's all that I knew about
It's
it.
okay
I'm like,
because
all right, cool.
my description was going to be, they're gay, Susan. That's it.
Their case.
Yeah. Sure. And
How do you think that makes gay Susan feel?
well,
Just thought.
There's a comma in there.
Okay.
exactly. Yes. Exactly. So, and did you have a third movie that you had seen?
No.
Just those.
I'm halfway through Seven Samurai, which
Okay.
I revoke my cinephile card because I haven't seen it until now.
All right. Well,
yeah,
we've all.
I'm gonna watch
You
the
can have
second
it
half
back.
tonight. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, excellent. Cool.
So yeah.
Cool. Are you reading
Challenger's
anything
good.
interesting or
Same old.
same old? Sure.
Same old.
Sure.
I've been playing Hades.
Ooh.
Which
How is Hades?
I haven't
Hades
started
is
that
great.
yet.
I do know that Hades 2 is currently out in like alpha version or whatever.
It is. It is.
I haven't
They're
tried
talking
that
about
out yet.
Are you playing it through Steam?
Yes.
Okay.
It's also available on, I think it might be PlayStation Plus. But
I
I'm not
know
sure.
it's available on Xbox for purchasing because I scrolled through it last year.
I think it's on PlayStation Plus right now.
Is it? Okay.
I mean, what other than the gameplay, which is very refined and
Sure.
just fun. What it has that a lot of other roguelikes don't have is actual characters.
Yeah, Hades is on PS Plus.
Intrigue, which you're dealing with the Greek god, so there's going to be intrigue and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It's obvious.
Yeah, no, it's a great game. Anybody who's played it can.
Yeah,
attest
I
to that,
remember it was one of the big two like pandemic games, and I was just like, okay, I need to check this out. But
Yeah, and I'm definitely looking forward to the sequel. So.
nice, excellent. Okay, well, Aaron, I have a question for you
Yeah.
because we are finally at the point of the program for our topic, and I've literally been waiting all day for this. I want to know. I don't know the answer. I was going to say I'm sure I do, but I can't even guess. So, explain to us why you chose Kiki's Delivery Service by Eiko Kadono as your book for this choice.
Because
this round.
my favorite Hayao Miyazaki movie is quite literally Kiki's Delivery Service.
Solid choice.
It is the one when I used to go to Family Video with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
This used to be there on VHS.
Oh.
And besides Sailor Moon R, I think it was the movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This Kiki's Delivery Service and Sailor Moon R were the two staple movies that I consistently checked out almost every single time that I was there.
One could say you have something for adolescent witches in training.
I do.
Yeah, okay, yes.
And I wanted
Me
to
too.
see the difference and the connection between the two. Because
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was a book.
Until you saw it here.
Until I saw it here
Yes.
on the shelf, and I went, "Oh, it's a book."
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, I was like, "Well, if I want to read it, I want other people to talk about it with." So I suggested it for this.
I love it. Okay, so I'm going to ask you what you thought because I have so many things that I want to say about this book. But I'm going to let you go first since this was your choice.
The thing that I really liked is so I listened to half of this via audio, and then the other half I didn't.
How was that on audio?
Audio, it's cute.
Sure.
She's got a really high-pitched voice, which doesn't really do well for me.
Yeah.
But,
I actually liked the. Assuming we were listening to the same version, I actually liked the little
did you?
what I listened to.
Okay.
it's really short. It's only like maybe about 3-4 hours long.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's not that long. Granted, I also listened to it at 1.5 speed because I can't listen to it slow.
Fair.
I will say one of the things that I really liked that I was surprised about because, watching the movie, there's an overarching story.
Yes.
There's an overarching
It's not
story.
nearly as episodic.
This is really episodic,
Yes.
but I like that.
Me too.
Because of the fact that, it really just kind of showcases, one of the things that they don't do in the movie is she doesn't go back home.
Yes!
This one, it really makes it a point to say after a year you can come back home.
Yes.
They kind of touch on it in the movie, but not a lot.
No.
And she does not go back home at the end of the movie.
Right.
Here, you can kind of see, and how many chapters are in this?
Oh, yeah, because that's, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's like 8 chapters, and you could put that in like a couple episodes a season.
There's only 8 chapters? Well, that makes sense.
I mean, there's more than that, really. Technically, there's like 10. But
Right.
like 8 chapters in which she's actually doing something that's not at home.
Like leaving home and then... Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So if you start with like Kiki opens a shop as sort of the first chapter where she's doing something.
Then that's 7.
And then from there...
From then down, it's 7 chapters. I technically do Comes of Age as one because she's...
Yeah, she's leaving home. Yes, exactly. Yes.
I did also really enjoy her anger and her frustration, and it made me laugh so much.
Oh my God. Yes.
She was like, I built this broom, and her mom's like, no.
Yeah, right. Yes, exactly. But then how it like later it dovetails with the beach scene and afterwards where she realizes like, oh no, I've lost my mother's broom, only to discover not only was it taken from her by a Humie, but also a boy.
By her love interest.
Yes, and then he breaks the broom. I was so mad at that kid. Like, I wanted to, like... I've never actually wanted to strangle a character for being actually helpful ever in my life. But I was like,
I thought it was really interesting, too, how, like, in the movie, Tombo, who's the kid...
Yes.
Tombo has less of a role in this book than he does in the movie.
But in the book, he's way more charming.
Yes.
Exactly. I felt exactly the same way. Yes.
I also did highlight, I think, close to the end, just a couple of my favorite Gigi quotes from...
Gigi is so much better in this book than he is in the movie, and he's great in the movie, right? Like, he's exactly what you would expect.
He's sassy. He's just kind of like a Salem from, like, Sabrina and the Teenage Witch, but, like,
yes,
more kid-friendly.
Yes. But he plays a way more major role in the book than he does in the movie.
I was like, this cat can hold a violin at one point, but he can't.
Exactly. I love that
One
scene.
of the quotes that I highlighted was literally, "What a long winter. If it gets any colder, I think I'm going to quit being a cat. I can't take it." And I'm like, this cat, are you kidding?
I kept reading Gigi in Oliver's voice. Because Gigi and Oliver are way too similar. Like, if I was doing all of the things that Kiki does in this book, that is exactly how I would expect Oliver to react. And I've only ever had that that experience once while reading, which was when I was reading 101 Dalmatians. I kept thinking, this woman has to have raised Dalmatians. There are too many, specific, I own a pet details that you only get from having a pet around for years. And then I read in her bio, she had 9 Dalmatians in an apartment with a husband.
Oh, good.
So she was living...
She was literally living 101. So for her, it's what's an exaggeration? 101 of them. And it's lady, you had 9. That's exaggerated enough, but fine.
I also think it was really interesting how, the storyline for the movie is the birthday party and then there's a blimp.
Yes.
Those are the 2 main stories.
Yes.
Out of both of those stories for the movie, only one of those is actually in this book.
Yeah, the blimp is not there at all.
The blimp is not there. The birthday party is literally the first couple chapters of this whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the first few episodes.
And it's not at all dramatized the way that it is in the movie.
And the girl who, granted,
the artist?
No. So,
yes.
So Mimi, who is the other girl character,
I loved her.
Is not so in the movie. She is part of the birthday stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, no.
I think she comes later. She's part of Tombo and that whole
kind of, but not really, because she's actually part of the grandma who was knitting. The grandma who was knitting was not knitting in the movie. She was making casseroles.
Yes.
And she was giving it to Mimi.
Yes.
And Mimi is there. However, in this, she's completely different type of character, and I like her a whole lot more
So much
in
more.
this.
Yes.
And I thought it was really interesting. Isn't Violet's the witch in the mountains? I think
With the knitting,
with the painting.
Violet, is her name Violet?
I don't
The
remember.
painting the artist. It might be Violet. I think you're right. I'm
But
trying to remember.
I don't know. Like I really liked a lot of the stuff about this, and I was really surprised at how much I did enjoy. I don't think there was anything that I hated. Like,
Oh no, Violet is the knitting witch. Not witch, but the knitting lady. So, okay, I'm gonna state this because it's sometimes reading 3 layers deep into something that is this simple can be a curse because you think too much about something that literally was not designed to be thought too much. But the thing that I love about this book, which is why I call it one of the best fantasy novels I have ever read in my life.
really?
Bar none, easily. The thing that this does, there are a couple of things. One, this is the most feminist without trying to be feminist fantasy novel I have ever
It really
encountered.
is.
Simply because what it does is it takes this 13-year-old girl whose coming of age journey is natural for her profession. Her long line of witches, that's what you do, is you turn 13 and you go that day or shortly afterwards to another town where they are in need of a witch, and that's how you set up your life, right? And that's where you're going to live literally for the rest of your life or until the town gets rid of you, right? That's just what witch culture is. So it's not abnormal for the 13-year-old to have to be like, bye little birdie, get out of the nest, right? That's established immediately. Her mother is a really interesting character because she's hard on her. And it feels terrible at first. Like, because you're in Kiki's head, and Kiki's just always kind of like, shut up, Mom. Because
She's 13 years old.
Exactly. And that is a very,
She's 13 years old, and you can see that she's also, like, really attached to her dad at the same time.
Yes, because he's completely the opposite. He's so, like, he's hands-off because he's a human. He doesn't have witch powers. He studies them because he's an anthropologist. Folklorist, I think is what they call him. Yeah, he's a folklorist who studies, his wife's culture. But, like, that's not the same thing, And so the mother-daughter relationship there mirrors so many of the mother-daughter relationships that I watched growing up as a kid, between my cousins and their moms. So that felt real to me. And I think the author did write this, like, not in memory of her daughter, but, like, she got the idea from watching her daughter play. And so you can feel that sort of verisimilitude happening. But at the same time, as Kiki leaves, every significant character that she meets is either an adult woman or there are 2 girls her age that she meets. One is the first witch, or the witch that she meets when she's on her way, and that witch has been a year.
The one that's helpful or whatever.
Well, there's a witch that's sort of like, so if Kiki's flying over all of these towns, and one witch is sort of approaching because she's heading somewhere else, and it's super early in the morning, and she's just like, she's like, this girl must be like a year older than me or something, and the girl confirms like, oh yeah, I've been into my services for a year, but she can't fly as well as Kiki because that's not one of her magic powers. She does all right, but she's not very good at it.
That's not her main thing.
And so it puts in Kiki's head like, oh, okay, yeah, I might be able to do something with my flying. And that's like the first inkling of her ability to think for herself, as you go through this book. But everywhere else, the only other female character that she meets that's her age is Mimi.
Mimi.
Yeah. And that encounter, that whole chapter is beautifully done. Because I'll get to that. So there's that, right? The thing that makes that significant is not just that these women are there, right? But that there are so many of them, 1 per episode.
Yeah.
And all of them are women of community.
And all of them are helping in some way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
Either helping somebody else.
Yes.
Or they're helping Kiki in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
But they don't help her in, like, that way of, like, let me coddle you. It is the...
Yes.
For example, Orsano,
The
bakery lady.
Yes.
Which, in the movie, she also has a pretty big part because she gives her, basically, the house that she lives in.
Yeah.
Is, like... Which is, I think, the same thing here, too. But, like, basically... She sees her and is like, oh, but you can fend for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Here, let me just give you the tools.
Yes.
As long as you help me with this. Because Orsono is like 9 months pregnant at this point.
Yes.
And is about to
It's about to pop. In fact, I think literally, so Kiki moves in that day, and it says, the next morning, the baby came, and you're like, what? That's the other thing. This book moves at a clip. It wastes no time. Like,
because in the movie, the baby doesn't have until the end of the whole
Yes, exactly. Like, the book just does not care about your, like, feelings about preciousness. It's like, and the next day, the baby came. So Kiki had to figure out, and you're like, wow, okay, she was really pregnant. You know what I mean?
I also like the fact that out of all the people that she meets too, like, all of them are women, but all of them, like...
Yes.
All the men, too,
yes,
like...
are brats, with the exception of one, the boy who's her age, who reminds you, the further you get along, you kind of think it at first.
Actually, there's two boys her age.
Tom, but, well, okay, yeah, that's true.
There's who is Mimi's crush.
Yes, that's true.
But
he's sort of a part of,
he's kind of like a side. He's not really there.
Yeah, he's not really,
But the only person who's actually, like, there, who's a significant part of anything that she's doing, is Tombo.
And he's the only male character allowed to have that, even more than her father, who is there, but he's there. You don't realize until you get through Tombo's story in the book. Okino is there to give the reader the sense that Kiki and Tombo might become the next Kokiri and Okino, without being precious or ridiculous or, ooh, look at the middle schoolers making up. No, none of that.
No, because there's like this whole section because you see in her parents, which, by the way, it's really interesting that they never really say mom or dad. Like, she never calls them really mom or dad in the story.
No.
Except for, like, little asides here or there. She calls them by their first name.
Yes,
but
exactly.
At the same time, like, Tombo is there, and he has a fascination with flying.
Exactly.
Kind of
the
like
same way
her
that Okino
dad has an obsession.
Is he the one that he's on the beach and he's trying to, okay.
Yeah, and so, like, that's another, yes, that mirror is so obvious because the story's very simple. It's not like she's trying to hide it from you. It's very obvious because Tombo and Okino are literally the same kind of character, just at completely different ages, the same way that Kiki and Kokiri are the same character
but at
different ages. But it's easier because they're mom and daughter, right? Like, Okino and Tombo are not related. But
you can see it.
But you can see, because they're both super curious, they're both humans, and they're both so, like, emotional to the point where, like, Kiki literally every time Tombo does something, she's just like, it either puts her in a bad mood or she just goes, I don't understand boys. Like, it's so, like, yeah, that's exactly how 13-year-olds think. Like, that's not...
It's really
like,
funny, too, because Mimi comes up to her with the whole entire, like, little thing, like, I need to give this boy a matching pen to mine, but I can't tell anyone that he's also the guy that I have a crush on because of XYZ.
Yes.
And meanwhile, Kiki's just like, no.
Yeah, the whole time she's not really arguing with Mimi, but it kind of come across that way because she's just like, well, why would you do that? And Mimi's like, because, silly, I like him. And she's like, well, then why don't you just tell him? Isn't that dumb? And Mimi's just like, no, you can't. Boys don't work that way. Yeah, exactly. And it's so much fun because by the end of that chapter, okay, there are no spoilers in this book, okay? It's not that kind of book.
No.
So just getting it off my chest. But by the end of the chapter, which is again why this book is so significant, Kiki says to Mimi, I'm so sorry, because there's a, like...
She does something with the poem.
Yeah.
And so she has to rewrite the whole entire thing.
And it works better than Mimi's version, and so Kiki feels so guilty that she's like, I'm so glad it worked for you, but I kind of messed up and it's my fault. And Mimi goes, oh, that explains everything. Well, I'm glad you did, because I feel like you're so much more confident than I am in these things. And Kiki was like, no, I thought you were more confident in these things than I were. And they're like, friends? And it's that easy. And I think that's literally the beating heart of this book. It is about women being there for each other, regardless of their ages, regardless of their community they come from, regardless of whether they knew each other or not. This book is full of women just being there for women. And it is the most amazing. All of the men, including the mayor, the clockmaker, 8 instrumentalists who are just brats, and the station master. All of the men in this book, with the exception of Okino and Tombo, are useless and brats. Like, they're so in the way. My favorite moment is in the clock tower. Actually, no, it's not the clock tower. I like the clock tower episode. I thought that would be my favorite until you get to the instrumentalists. So here's the basic plot of the instrumentalist chapter. New Year's is coming. And no, it's after New Year's. Spring is on its way. Yep. And there's this group of instrumentalists. There's 8 of them. There are 8 men. They come to town, and they're going to bring in the sound of spring, which basically they're just going to play their instruments, and the town is going to feel the warmth of spring through their instruments, right? And they even have a title for it because, it's their little outdoor concert, and they're so proud. The problem is the porter did not read the note that said, these instruments go with these people. And so the instruments were left on the train, which is an express train and won't stop until it gets to its final destination. So when Kiki shows up, they're like, we have a problem. Could you please go and, track down the train, get the instruments?
And the funniest part is that she's sitting there and she gives you the most, simple of answers. She's just like, why don't you just borrow instruments?
And they get so
mad,
cranky. And she, as a 13-year-old girl who is now a businesswoman, because this is towards the end of her first year at running her business, so she's done all kinds of things, like literally save New Year's. So the whole city recognizes her for what she is, and she's had all these wonderful women and girls, taking care of her, and Tombo, and now these adult males are angry with her, and she's just like, get over yourself. She gives them at one point they said towards the end of the thing of their request, they get all snarky with her, and then the book says something like, Kiki flew off appropriately without a word. And I was like, yes. It's like the author's taking her side a little bit, yeah, these men were being jerks. You read between the lines, reader. Good job.
And it was really funny because Gigi's like, are you sure we should be doing that right now? And she's like, I'm just trying to scare them a little because, they're just being brats. So, she fully, recognizes that they're being brats.
Yes.
And then proceeds to turn around and gives them a little bit of fear, a good dose of little fear in their life that she won't do what they want. And then she's like, no, I'm just doing that because,
they need
to learn.
Yes.
And then she goes and gets the instruments. Meanwhile, Gigi's like, you want us to land on that?
Literally a moving train. And the cat is freaking out because of course he would. He's a cat.
I do like the cat.
He's wonderful. So my favorite part about that chapter, though, is because, she figures out how to get the instruments back by taking them all out of their cases and, stringing them together so that the weight is, the wind and the weight of the instruments. It's a little silly. It's goofy. It's not how science works.
It's magic.
But it's magic, right?
It's magical fantasy.
Exactly.
It's realist fantasy. It's there. We know that it's magic. She's a witch.
Yes, exactly. And the book does its homework, right? Because her and Gigi are trying to play the instruments because it's cute and fun, but they both stink at it. So, you get the idea that they're not good instrumentalists, but they're still having fun, right? So she's flying back into town. The people have gathered for the concert. The instrumentalists, of course, are fuming because she's late, and they gather in a prayer circle beforehand to conserve time. They're like, we're not ready yet. We need to pray about this. And the villagers are like, cool. Meanwhile, as Kiki is flying back into the city, people are hearing the wind play the instruments as she's coming in. And they're so full of the warmth of spring that by the time she lands and gets the instruments off they're ready to go, the people at the concert, the villagers are like, we're good, we're ready for spring. And they leave. So the instrumentalists don't even get to have their glory moment, which again is such a subtle way of one-upping the typical male angle of Japan. I mean, Japanese history, right? When everyone thinks about Japanese history, they think about shonen. They think, not shoujo, they think about shonen. They think about samurai, emperors, shogunates, all this male, oriented stuff, right? The men in Japan are cool. You never think about what the women are doing, what they're interested in, what they're up to, and this book is entirely about that. It has nothing to do with any kind of male concern at all, and it's not afraid just a little bit to sort of poke at that bear, but in a playful, fun kind of way, not in a way that's gonna like infuriate you if you happen to be a boy reader reading this, because there's literally a character your age, that is a boy that you can root for. But he is like sidelined a bit, which is why I think the Miyazaki adaptation is so interesting, because you can tell that Miyazaki's favorite character is Tombo, but he doesn't disrespect Kiki either. What he does do, which I think is the one flaw in the adaptation, I don't think that he's trying to be disrespectful, but I think he is a man who isn't used to being shepherded by women. Into womanhood. Even if they shepherded him into manhood, it's different for a boy to be shepherded by women into adulthood as opposed to, a girl being shepherded into womanhood by women, right? So he doesn't give her this, when I tell you, literally it's a pack of women in this, and they're all different, and they're all, their moods are all different, their ages are all different, their experiences are all different, and none of them know each other. So it's not like they're like doing this on purpose. They're literally seeing this girl and they just want to help her. Because, I don't know, I get the impression that they see something of themselves in her, to some degree. And so they all lend a hand. And that particular aspect of Community is completely absent from the film because I don't think Miyazaki knew it. He couldn't see it.
The thing is, he can write really good women characters.
Absolutely.
We're not saying that like Miyazaki like does not write women characters well.
No, he actually writes them very well. Yeah.
It's the fact that because his experience is different, he doesn't know how to, or possibly hasn't had that chance to, write the women ushering younger women into the universe. The
only example that I can think of the ones that I've seen, is from Up on Poppy Hill, which is one of the reasons that movie is my favorite, because it is about a boy who has his male, group, which are mostly his school friends, but also, some of his father's old friends, his father's old sailor friends, right? Mm-hmm. So this is boy surrounded by manhood. So there's the opposite is true of this young woman who you're introduced to first, and you see she lives in a house of women, her grandmother and her aunts and even her mom, and adult college women and that kind of thing. So Miyazaki's capable. I just don't think he was capable when he adapted Kiki's Delivery Service. And when so something else was. It came out later. I think it was after Spirited Away.
Kiki's Delivery Service, I think, came out in 1989.
Yeah, it was like super early. Yeah. Well, it would have been, because I think the book was 90. Was it earlier than I think it was?
Yeah, Kiki's Delivery Service, the movie is from 89.
Yeah, so that means this book was out in the 80s. And see, 1985. Yeah, okay, so this is another example. I'm going to complain about this. All of you have heard me complain about this before, but I'm going to do it again anyway, because, what is an episode of this podcast without Tony complaining?
Up on Poppy Hill was 2011.
Okay, yes, I knew it was after Spirited Away. I just couldn't remember which year. So the thing that makes me increasingly angry, the more, especially when I read pre-Harry Potter things, everything is better than it. Like, why is Kiki's Delivery Service not as popular as Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone or more? It's so much better. It was doing everything.
It didn't get translated. This was, I think, one of the first translations to English.
So it was translated to English, I think, in 93, which would have been after Miyazaki's film. So I think that certainly impacted its ability to be translated. But then it went out of print in English, even though it was still a hit in Japan. So this thing has been like a classic of Japanese children's literature for
really
like 20 years.
Interesting because like 40 years. This Charmed Life? Gwyn Jones?
Yes, that's one of hers, yeah.
And then Le Guin did one too, right?
Oh, yes, the magic story. Yeah. A Wizard of Earthsea is, Le Guin's, yeah.
Like, all of those are, like, insanely fantastic, and as I'm reading these, like, now, like, even with, like, Howl's Moving Castle, which is not the same, but so similar.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
It does such a nicer job than, like, Harry ever would. Like, and this is coming from somebody who's, like,
same.
Obsessed.
Yes.
Like, it is a core part of my personality.
Yeah.
To where, like, the fantasy aspects that are coming from Kiki's and that are coming from Howl's, which we're reading next, and coming from, like, all the other books, you see, like, a lot more community, a lot more interesting things. There's not as many plot holes that are just, like, left there without the explanation of something. Like, I have to reread Harry Potter, and I'm gonna be dreading every single second that I do, because I need to do compare and contrast.
Right, because, you know, the other thing that I pointed out in my Goodreads interview, Goodreads review, I know, that sounds so pretentious when I say it out loud.
Did you interview for Goodreads?
No, I did review it because I like to add, because I know that people read my reviews on, and I'm not even important, I like to put my thoughts down, especially for myself later. So one of the things that I did point out in my review is this book, to me, is as good as, if not better than, Coraline, Howl's Moving Castle, Matilda. It has that same journey of, this is about a adolescent learning what adolescence looks like, and all of them are about girls learning how to be, like, you know,
if I was recommending, like, to a girl or a boy who liked stories about girls, or you know, whoever, whatever, I would be recommending Kiki's to start them out with. It's easy to read, it's easy to digest, it's an episodic, so that way, if they don't like a certain chapter, or if they turn around and they don't want to read it, and they check it out, but they don't remember, you can just open up to any chapter you want, and it makes sense.
Yes,
as long as you read, like, you have knowledge of the fact that she's left, so, like, that first 2 chapters, you are fine. Like, she's there, and it doesn't matter, because every single chapter is just a little bit different.
Yeah.
And there's always a good message that's inserted in there, which is basically, like, showing her how to be more independent, how to do things all on her own.
I think anybody who's, like, gone through adolescence could identify with her, because, you know, it is, you know, part of it is just the story about a girl growing up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the thing that distinguished it from Coraline and Howl's and Matilda. So English language fiction as written by English, and when I say English, I mean people from England, English writers, they feel the need to make the world, the cruelties of the world, plot devices. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't get through...
You didn't get that with this.
No, in this, she shows you, Eiko Kadono shows you that, like, people talk about cozy fantasy right now, like, right? This is OG. Like, she shows you that you do not have to make people cruel or the circumstances cruel in order for the character to succeed, in order for the character to grow, in order for the character to change. Literally, okay, so at the beginning, like I said, Kiki's mom, Kokiri, is sort of like an antagonist almost, right? Because she's saying, Kiki, do this, and Kiki's like, no, I don't want to do that. You know, that kind of mother-daughter thing.
It makes sense because she's 13, and, you know, if your mom turns around and tells you, Aaron, you need to do this. My initial reaction, and this is still true today, and she knows this, true today, if she goes, Aaron, I want you to wash the dishes, I'm going to look at her and go, no, I don't want to. And then I'm going to do something completely different.
Just because she said to do it, right?
Just because she said to do it.
Exactly.
And so Kiki and I are kind of similar in that aspect where, like, she says, like, no, you have to wear the long black dress.
Yes.
And Kiki's just like, I don't want to, though. Like, why is this... No, I don't want to do this stupid tradition, but she does it anyways.
Yes.
And it feels the same to me. Like, your mom tells you, hey, I need these things done, and then you're just like, no, I don't want to, but you do it anyways. Like, your mom's like, we need to go to your cousin's baseball game or something, and then you're just like, no, I don't want to, but do go anyways.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same hat.
It is, yeah. But by the end of the book, literally in the final chapter, Kokiri is watching Kiki after having her having been gone for a year, and she says in a line of dialogue literally what the whole point of the book is, but she says it in that motherly, like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you, kid, kind of way, and you suddenly realize, oh, this is I mean, even if you know it, like I knew, right? But the fact that it's stated on the page from that particular character to the title character is such a big moment of settling for the reader. Like, it's not just there because the character would have said that. It's also there to let the reader know the next page will be the last one. It's okay to relax now. The story is done. You know what I mean? That level of genius is so rare in fiction, particularly fiction for children, that is why I claim this as one of the best fantasies I've ever read, because it is, as simple as it is, it also holds so much complexity for 193 pages that seems impossible, and yet masterfully done. I mean, good Lord, I want to dig up. I want to go to Japan, honestly, and I want to bring along an English editor with a lot of clout and be like, buy all of them, translate all of them, do it now, do it right now, because that's
why I'm kind of obsessed right now with Japanese mysteries and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's just, and it's when I was younger, I really liked Japanese dramas too.
Yeah.
It was that's why I liked it. It wasn't there's all this convoluted stuff happening. It was just what's on the page.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. It's pacey. I could not talk about this book enough. So, to keep from doing that. What are we reading next? What's the next one?
House Moving Castle. We're going right from one Miyazaki to the next.
I'm so excited to talk about all this with you guys. I'm also just excited.